What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to take a look at a new interview that Deck9 did with Games Radar. As always, I'll link it in the description if you guys want to read the whole thing, but I want to kind of focus on one major theme, and it's their response to the reception of this game. It's actually just kind of like one paragraph. I mean, there is a theme there in the article where they talk about, kind of the ramifications of going back to a character like Max, and again, kind of with some of the stuff we've heard in the past where, they've had this idea since 2021, actually even before True Colors came out, and the idea was always Max. They saw untapped potential with her. That might have been the first time we've heard that word, because they did say that. They saw untapped potential with her, and the idea of like an original protagonist was not actually on the table even early on with this game. So, some of that new, some of that we've kind of already heard before. But I want to take a look at one particular line from Jonathan Stouter, right? And he goes over the reviews being very, very mixed. So they say the decision to bring Max back for a new adventure has proven divisive, as has the way developer Deck9 handled the specter of Chloe Price. It's a situation the studio is still processing in the days after release of Life is Strange Double Exposure. Then the quote, with the reviews, we've got some really high highs and a couple low lows. But I think that's better than it coming out and being just really middle of the road, says Stouter. Some people are having a strong reaction to it, whether it's positive or negative, and I find that very interesting. It's not something I've been through before, so this is all new to me. Now, I kind of just want to talk about that, talk a little bit about that reception the game has gotten. I mean, okay, one thing I do want to say, I think I've said this before here and there, but I don't think this game is actually like a 2, 3, 4, right? Like, when you open it up to the Metacritics of the world, Metacritic being the user scores, right? When you do that, you invite people that can just kind of go wild. And, I've said this before, like, look, people have the right to kind of do whatever. I'm a fan of voicing your opinion however really you want to, as long as you don't cross over that line, right? There's the line of threats, there's the line of attacks, and there were some legitimately bad things going into this game. I saw it with my own two eyes right here on Twitter, and there were outright like threats. I mean, they were, some of them were joking threats, but some of them literally talked about violence, and that's just not okay. You can't be doing that. That just actually gives ammo to them to like not pay attention to what you're talking about, when like you could actually be making an incredibly good point, but like as soon as you start to threaten, or as soon as you start to joke about, even if you're joking, they might take it the wrong way, and then your entire opinion is thrown out, which honestly it shouldn't be. Okay, so that's just one thing I want to say. Now, I've always said, like, the Steam reviews I think are kind of more in line with what normally people think of it. Things like even PlayStation, I find like the star system, I feel like sometimes lines up, not all the time, but something like Metacritic in particular. We've seen it with like The Last of Us, we've seen it with Life is Strange, and I've said this before too, it's fake on every side, really, for a lot of games. You go to any game, pick a game, go on it, and you'll see fake 10 out of 10s. People give games just fake 10s, oftentimes maybe to combat the zeros, but they're still fake, right? People that give it a 0 and give no reason that the game is a 0 is just as fake as somebody giving it a 10 out of 10 and giving no reason. And that's why I hate review scores. No game is a perfect game, so 10 out of 10 I think should actually never be given out. And then a 0 out of 10, or like a 1, a 2, like Double Exposure, right? People that are giving it 2s, 3s, 4s, the game works. The game functions. I did see some funny glitches, but the game does function. It has like words that people are saying. You can move the controller and she moves. Like, things are happening. I feel like at worst, it's not a 1 or a 2, right? Maybe a 3, maybe a 4, maybe a 5. But like, just the fact that the game actually functions, I don't see how you give the game a 0. I don't see how you give the game a 1. And people were doing that because it had such a low. So the game had like a 2 or a 3. I think it's up to like a 4 now on Metacritic. But here's the thing, okay? I just kind of wanted to say that. I think that is important to remind people of every now and then. But to his specific line, I will take one little jab and say it is kind of weird that you knew you were bringing back a legendary character. It's not just me that says it, by the way, right? Like, I oftentimes talk Max up, but the Life is Strange fandom that's been around since 2015 freaking adores Max, right? That's the thing, and I keep saying that. It's the thing that really brings us all together for Double Exposure, no matter what you think of the game, is Max Caulfield, right? So you bring her back, And then, another big thing people did like about the first game, I don't know if you know this, is Chloe and Max. So when you bring that back and you change it up quite a bit, you're going to upset people. It's going to happen. You might not upset everybody, but you've got to know going in that you're gonna be like a divisive game. And that's the part that I don't really understand about it. The line about like, coming out and just being like a middling game, right? Like that, there actually might be some truth to that, right? You don't know that for sure, right? A game comes out and it gets just like 6s or 7s, right? A game comes out and it's just unanimously fine. People don't really even have strong thoughts about it. Does that draw people in more than a game that gets unanimous love? And I mean, I would say like the massive love actually has come more from like the critics for this game than anything. But okay, it's got like the love, and then it's got like a severe group of hate, right? And then like you got those two sides. Which one does better? I'm actually willing to hear either side out, and so I'm kind of willing to hear him out because there might be some truth to that, for all the negatives that people have said. And when you look at it and you see a 4 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10 on Metacritic, now somebody like me doesn't actually care about that because it's all kind of rigged anyway. But you look at that as just an average person. Does that make you more interested, or does a game getting like a 6.5 make you more interested? And that's honestly, I would imagine a game getting a terrible score makes you more interested. To buy it, I don't know, right? But like when a Lord of the Rings Gollum comes out, and it's like one of the worst games we've gotten in like 10, 15 years, right? It gets like 2s and 3s by fans or consumers, and then also critics. You look at that, and there is like genuine intrigue of how it managed to be that bad, right? So there is that like, okay, I'm now interested in this game. I don't know if that leads you to sales, but it definitely leads you to talking about it. So if that's what he means, then yes, I think Life is Strange Double Exposure has actually gotten quite a bit of talk. I think people have talked about it more than I actually kind of imagined they would, and a lot of it has stemmed from controversy. Controversy sells, like negative thoughts sell, but also positive things can too, and there's some positives to talk about with the game. But yeah, I guess I would just, that one jab would be like, for him, I know, he says he's new to it and stuff like that. That makes sense. You think about like True Colors, and I forget like his entire history and stuff, but even if you just look at Deck 9, like they've been relatively consistent. Nothing has like massively blown up. Like True Colors, I think, is a very solid, good game. Just like it's, and actually that's kind of funny because, he says that True Color, I don't think it's like a middling game. I think True Colors comes out and people say that's a rock solid game, right? That's a good game. I don't know how many people are saying that game changed their lives. Maybe some, but I don't see like the absolute movement, but nobody's saying that game is bad, right? So like that one kind of does have a unanimous vote of just like, this is really solid, right? It's a good, maybe great game, wherever you want to put it in your scale, right? But it's, that is true. Because even Before the Storm, I don't know, Before the Storm might have been that. I actually always liked Before the Storm, so I was kind of out of it. But, when it comes to Double Exposure, yeah, it is easily the most split game that they have ever made. And probably will only be topped by their next game. But look, at the end of the day, I mean, and I've said this on Twitter, I've said this on YouTube, like, I want them to just be able to respect us, respect fans, whether we're criticizing it or praising it or whatever. They did a tweet like 2 days ago, maybe when I'm recording this video, maybe a day ago, and I think it was 2. And they talked about Max. It was like a tweet about Max. Maybe it was like turning into November or whatever. And I sent a tweet, and got an okay amount of likes. And I said like, all I want, beyond all of the talk, is for them to like know that we're coming at it from like a place of love. Like, we love the franchise, some more than others, and somebody like me, like I love specific games, more than others. But we're coming at it from love of Life is Strange, and we're coming at it from love of Max Caulfield, right? And we only want, I mean, this is, I think, what's so like missed in just gaming or conversations online. We just want the best for it, and that honestly, it kind of goes full circle to what I talked about in the very beginning. I think what happens when you get too aggressive, and I mean, look, I'm not going to like hack into your computer and take control of your social media accounts. You do you. Ultimately, that's how it is. But I think if you step over those lines, right, and you do stuff where it gets too aggressive, harassing, threat, all that stuff, when you do that, you hurts what I just said, right? Because I do think there should be this idea that they can listen to us and be able to say, okay, well, even if they really didn't like, say you hated it, right? There's still something to learn from that, because this is like a genuine person who genuinely cares, right? If you really care about Life is Strange and you're going after Double Exposure, chances are you're doing it from like a good place. You're doing it because you wanted a good game. You want what's best for the franchise. You want what's best for Max. You want what's best for the future of the franchise, even if you didn't like Double Exposure, right? You want what's best for the franchise. And I think a very good amount of people actually think that. And then when you step over, right, then it's like, okay, well, now that entire opinion is discarded. Now you're just like the crazy people out there. You're like labeled. I honestly believe they would label you, right? I think many developers would do it, and they just don't care what you think. And and that's what I said, in a condensed way in that tweet, where it's like, no matter what's been said, a lot of this has come out of love. Like, we do love the franchise. We do love Max. We're not doing it just to be mean. We're not, at least most of us, we're not going online just to say things just to say it. We have something to say. We feel passionate about it, and that's what I want them to feel. I want them to feel that passion. So hopefully, lines like he just said, I'm sure it is a whirlwind, right? Because, they work for years to put out a game, and some people love it, and some people are hating it. And, I imagine that can get to you, right? It's just, I really hope they're able to kind of see through it. And look, like, then you got the Square Enix part of this, right? Where it's like, well, who's even allowed to do what, right? Where do certain orders come from, certain directions of the franchise, all that stuff. But hopefully the right people see the right things. Hopefully the right people are able to see through some of the not great stuff and say, okay, well, even if you have something not great to say, you are doing it like in a helpful way. You're trying to actually help the franchise. That's what I'm trying to do. Maybe I don't do it every time, but specifically with Life is Strange, I really want this to be the best that it can be. I'm trying to give helpful advice from just a passionate fan, right? That's my goal. That's my goal in life. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.